Well, a warm welcome back to Andy Sharma, who is chairman of the Hillingdon Chamber of Commerce, also runs business results coaching service. Hi, Andy.
Hello, Steve.
And today's chamber conversation we're calling just meetings. Now, lots of people like to call meetings at the drop of a hat, don't they? And invite the whole company. But that's not always necessary, is it, Andy?
Absolutely, Steve. I think some people are guilty of calling meeting for everything, which is not really the right thing to do. I think it's important for people to understand when to call the meeting, who to have in the meeting, what would be the duration of the meeting, what is the outcome of the meeting, why the meeting is being called, and how the follow-up will happen, and how you're going to capture what was discussed and what needs to happen at the back of it.
Obviously, having an agenda is really important, and then writing down, taking minutes in the meeting, and then, as you say, feedback at the end of the meeting, and then who's doing what tasks. And the next meeting, as you say, figuring out have those tasks been done, if not why, and then allocating perhaps new tasks. If we add up people's time, and you put a value on everybody's time who's come to the meeting, it gets expensive, doesn't it? So I think the thing is to only call people into meetings if they're crucial to the making decisions. We don't need extra people in the meeting that are going to confuse things.
Yes, absolutely right. See, the magic happens when the execution happens or when the action is taken. So if you're running an organization, the results will come when something is implemented or executed. Even though meeting is important, you may want to strategize, you want to discuss something. At the end of the day, it's all about execution and implementation and actioning it. So people need to be aware that what is the objective of the meeting, and do they have enough time to do that, or are they actually encroaching on some of the action times? So leave enough time for people to go and work on it. And if you look at the man hours, for that matter, an hourly rate of each person who's in the meeting, every hour that you take extra, every few minutes that you take extra, it could all add up, which could be avoided. So it's important for you to be aware or be focused on why the meeting is called, what is the outcome of the meeting. If you stay true to that, more or less you will stick to the timeline or to the agenda, which will be a lot more effective.
What about capping the length of meetings? Because I feel that some meetings can drag on and you get into a bit of everybody starts falling asleep. Say you're going to cap every meeting at half an hour. Does that have an effect on speeding the whole thing up and getting people to make decisions quickly, do you think?
I think it depends on the type of the meeting.
Yeah.
So there are different meetings which need to happen. So there may be daily meetings for that matter, daily huddle for that matter. So I recommend having a stand-up meeting, 10 minutes, 15 minutes is the cap, which is needed. Everybody gets few minutes, couple of minutes to speak, and then what needs to happen, and then you wrap up. Then there may be some weekly meetings, which may be slightly longer, and monthly meetings, which may be about an hour or so. But it's not about the length of the meeting. What is important is what is the objective of that meeting, and make sure you have enough time to discuss that, have the discussion properly on it, discuss the strategy and what is going to happen and who's going to do it and how you're going to track it. What are the timelines that you're looking for? But you're right, when the meetings get longer, anything longer than an hour or so, people start losing the kind of interest in it, or the energy drops. So it's important for you to kind of be aware of how long the meeting is going to last. And do you need to take a break or something? Or do you need to split a meeting into 2 meetings for that matter? So it depends on the agenda of the meeting, the outcome that is needed. But you're right, and longer meetings are not as productive as a shorter meeting, because shorter meeting you can get on with the agenda, you can get to the point straight away, and you can get things action quicker than longer meetings, I'm assuming.
I suppose sometimes it might be good to have someone who's allocated as a kind of chairman of the meeting, and perhaps they could be neutral. There's some meetings that need to decide some controversial point.
Yeah, I think for some of these subjects or topics, you would need somebody like a chair or somebody who is neutral, who's going to drive the agenda in a certain direction. Because like I said, it's not about the meeting, it's about what is going to happen next, what are the outcome and what action is going to be taken. So it needs to be run properly and modulated properly. But for most of the meetings in organizations, they're usually run by the senior most person, whoever is in that meeting, and usually they would be the one setting the tone of the meeting. So they need to be aware of who needs to be in the meeting, how much time is needed for that meeting, And if the meeting runs longer than needed, what are the implications of that? So they need to be mindful because they are responsible for those team members for that matter.
Yeah. It's like anything, isn't it, in a business, scheduling. I mean, you might say, right, we'll schedule it in our diary for an hour, but knowing that we won't start till 10 past because people are going to arrive late and these kinds of things. But scheduling carefully, I suppose, your meetings. The other thing is I hear a lot about walking meetings and going outside and perhaps just going into a park and having a meeting. If you've got someone you want to discuss something one-to-one with, that can be an interesting concept, can't it?
Informal meetings are very powerful, and sometimes people don't pay enough attention to that. Water cooler conversations or just grabbing a lunch conversation could be a lot more effective than having a proper formal meeting, because people then are actually having a conversation, discussing challenges, and because it's 2 people or 3 people having a conversation, it's a lot more informal, but at the same time could be a lot more effective. So I would recommend any organization to invest in some of these areas where they can actually work with the team members or encourage a conversation just outside the meeting rooms also.
We've kind of lost that a little bit since lockdown. A lot more working from home. You don't get those water cooler moments so much, do you, nowadays, if you're all working from home? But perhaps there'll be an app coming soon to give us those water cooler moments.
Very good possibility.
Well, thank you, Andy. And if you've got any comments on meetings, please do comment and we'll get back to you. So a lot more of these chats on the Hillingdon Chamber Commerce website, along with a lot more of other information as well. Head to hillingdonchamber.co.uk. Thanks, Andy. That's great.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be here.